The morning rain had turned the marble floors of Harrington Tower into a minefield of wet footprints, and nobody seemed to care except for the small figure, pushing a mop twice his size through the lobby of the 40-story building. His name was Oliver, and he was 11 years old. His father, Samuel, had been the night janitor at Harrington Industries for 9 years, a quiet, dependable man who had never once missed a shift until 3 days ago, when a severe fever had knocked him flat on his back and left him shivering under thin blankets in their 2-room apartment. Oliver had watched his father try to get up that morning, watched him grip the wall just to stand, and made a decision without saying a single word. He found his father's uniform hanging on the back of the door, folded it neatly over his arm, and walked the 6 blocks to Harrington Tower in the gray October drizzle. The security guard at the front desk, old Mr. Henley, had looked at the boy with wide eyes, but Oliver had simply said, "My dad's sick, so I came instead," with such calm certainty that Mr. Henley had let him through without a word, something he would never quite be able to explain afterward. Oliver found the supply closet, located the mop and bucket by memory from the stories his father told at dinner, mixed the cleaning solution the way Samuel had described it, 2 caps, not 3, and then began his rounds. He worked methodically, starting from the far end of the lobby the way his father always did, moving in slow overlapping arcs, wringing the mop thoroughly each time, so the floor dried quickly and no one would slip. He did not rush. He did not cut corners. He worked the way his father had taught him to work, not because someone was watching, but because the floor deserved to be clean. The early morning staff began arriving, umbrellas dripping, shoes squeaking, coffees steaming, and most of them walked right past Oliver without a second glance. The way people walk past janitors every single day without seeing them. But one man stopped. He was tall, silver-haired, wearing a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Oliver's father made in 2 months, and he stood at the edge of the freshly mopped section reading the wet floor sign that Oliver had carefully placed. He looked at the sign, then at the boy holding the mop, and frowned. "Where's Samuel?" he asked, and Oliver looked up, surprised that this man knew his father's name. "He's sick, sir," Oliver said. "I'm his son. I didn't want him to lose his job, so I came to do his work until he gets better." The man, whose name was Richard Harrington, founder and CEO of Harrington Industries, stood very still for a long moment. In 40 years of business, he had been surprised by board members, blindsided by markets, and occasionally impressed by genius. But he had never been made speechless by an 11-year-old boy with a mop. He looked at the floor, genuinely clean, properly done, not the rushed half job he sometimes noticed on busy mornings, and something moved in his chest that he hadn't felt in a long time. "How long have you been here?" he asked. "Since 5:30, Oliver said. "Dad starts at 5:30. Richard Harrington nodded slowly, looked at the boy's small hands wrapped around the mop handle, looked at his father's uniform hanging loose on his thin frame, and made a decision of his own. He told Oliver to wait, disappeared into the elevator, and returned 20 minutes later with the head of HR and a sealed envelope. He told Oliver that his father's job was safe, more than safe, and that the envelope contained 3 months of paid medical leave, a bonus that would cover Samuel's medical bills, and a note that said simply, "Your son showed more integrity this morning than most adults. I have met in a lifetime." Oliver stood in the gleaming lobby of Harrington Tower, the mop still in his hands, and for the first time since he had left the apartment that morning, his eyes filled with tears, not from sadness, but from the overwhelming relief of knowing his father would be okay. He had not come looking for a reward. He had come because his father needed him, because the floor needed to be clean, because that is what you do when someone you love is hurting, and you have 2 working hands and the courage to use them. Richard Harrington watched the boy wipe his eyes and return to his mopping, and stood there in silence for a long moment before quietly walking back to his office, sat down at his desk and stared out at the rainy city, thinking about what it truly means to show up. If this story of a little boy's quiet courage moved your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner Stories, because the world needs more stories like this one.